Okay, this video has to do with inserting math equations into a Word document. So usually you'd start with some text or other. You're just typing along, blah, 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 blah. And suddenly you want to say something like the solution to the quadratic equation is, and then you might want to put some math notation, some equations, other things. The first thing to notice is that, and I'll just go down here, we found this to work for all situations most of the time. The point here is that you want to put the math in an open space like this, centered on the page. You don't want to cram it in among the words of a paragraph. So let's try that here. We're going to insert some math right here. And the way this works for Microsoft Word is to try this. You're going to go up and insert. So I'm choosing from the insert menu. You can't quite see it. It's on off screen. And I'm going to insert an object. What kind of object? Well, you look around until you find something that says Microsoft Equation. There are other ways to do this. I'm just showing it for equation. And then I say OK. And it brings up a little box here. And then I'm just going to type in the equation. First I'll type in the quadratic equation. So that would be x squared. So notice I'm picking this little, all these things up here. Let's just go over this. All these little things up here have to do with different kinds of symbols. You can do integral calculus, you can do summations like you might do in statistics or otherwise. Various kinds of arrows. There are Greek letters, lowercase and uppercase, like this. Square roots, and for example here, if you want a fraction in there, or of a small fraction, or you want a square root, or maybe a cube root where you're going to put something in like that. Here are parentheses, here are greater than or less than signs, all that stuff. So mostly we'll be using this one right here. And this allows us to put exponents and subscripts. So here I want to put x squared. So I do that so I can type something there. And then I just click where I want to keep adding. Plus b times x. And I could put to the 1. I could choose this so I could put a 1 right there. But I'm not going to do that because we don't usually do that when it's x to the 1. Plus c. And then equals 0. Alright, so this is how it's working. And at this point, I could come up here and click this, and that would insert the equation as a box right here. But I want to put the actual solution technique, so I'm going to do this. I hit 2 returns, and I'm going to do x equals, and I know it's going to be a big fraction because it's going to be minus b plus or minus square root of b squared, blah, 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 over 2a. It's going to be a big fraction, so I'm going to tell it to make a fraction. Here it is. Here it is, a full-size vertical fraction. And on the top, I know it's going to be minus b. And now I want plus or minus. I can't type that, but if I go over here, let's see, is it here? No. Here it is, right here. If I go over here, I can insert a plus or minus right there. And now I want the square root of b squared, so I choose square root here. And now I'm going to do b squared. So that's b, and now we want squared, so we choose this again, and put a 2 in there, b squared. Now I click right after it. By the way, notice if I click too far over, now I'm going to add, if I did this, I'd be adding on to the end of the fraction. I want something inside that square root. So I click there, b squared minus 4ac, and notice because I clicked inside the square root, it's adding these terms inside the square root sign. And now I can go down here and write over 2a. So that's our story. And now we are done. We have two mathematical equations or whatever. And that's what we want to insert. And now I'm going to say done. And it inserts them back to where I put them. If I want them to be bigger, notice there is basically a picture now in there. I can stretch it and make it bigger like that. I can also center it like this, if I wanted to. If I decide later on that I made a mistake and I want to call this letter here, I don't know, K or something, I can double click on this thing. I just double clicked, and it will take me back to the original editor, and now I could, if I wanted to, make that a K. I'm not going to because that would just confuse people, but there we go. So I can change those things if I want to. This is how to insert mathematical notation and equations into a document. If you just have one thing, suppose you wanted to just insert the word square root 2, sort of, we found that b is equal to the square root of 2. Instead of typing out the square root of 2, you don't want to do that. That looks stupid. You'd want to put a square root sign in there. You could, right there, come up again and insert object equation, Microsoft equation, say OK. Again, this box comes up. I want to put a square root, and I want to put a square root of 2, and now I'm done. That's all I wanted in that one space right there, and boom, there it is. And now I can keep typing, you sounded good, in all cases. There we go. So you can insert these things into the text itself. However, you should only do that for small terms like this. For things where you have equations and you're showing how the math works, separate it out so it's on its own line, and a lot of space around it so that the reader can see what you're doing. Okay, that's it for inserting math notation and equations into a document.